Welcome to the talk show where men unite, having conversations that inspire, ignite. From relationships to wellness, we cover it all. In this positive space, we're standing tall. We're the men of the talk show, spreading good vibes.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Men's Talk Show. Here we have one of the first viewers that actually watch our show. Many people watch our show, but this is the first time in 3 years that someone that's actually actively watching all of our videos, liking, actually came on to support, and he's going to talk about his mental health journey. So without further ado, Garrett, go ahead and introduce yourself, where you're from, what you do,
Okay.
and then we'll get into it.
Hey, well, first of all, man, thank you for having me. I appreciate asking me to be here. I'm Garrick Griffin, born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm a diehard Alabama Crimson Tide fan, but I currently reside in Houston, Texas. Me and my wife, we moved here after I retired from the military after doing 30 years in the military. So what I do now, I continue to give back as much as possible as I watch you, but I also see you guys chiming in on my TikTok page and see that I try to give some type of motivation, trying to inspire people to do things, be it through fitness or just having a conversation or whatever, because I think with all the craziness that we see in the world, it's nothing like seeing some positivity. And that's what you guys doing, man. So I appreciate y'all for having me here.
We appreciate you for actually viewing us. It's been amazing. I can't believe it's been almost 3 years that we've been doing this podcast, talk show. And a lot of people are resonating with our stories. And we're going to actually have more people that come on that's viewers as well, too. Because we want to make sure this is a collaborative and we're telling all walks of men of life stories. Not just one, because Black men, white men, Indian men, all the types of men in the world. There is no monolith for one type of man. So that's why we try to get as many people, diversity on here as we can. So just tell us about what's going on in your life. I know you took a vacation room. So how was that?
Oh man, it was awesome, man. Look, like I was telling you in the green room or backstage. I just turned 53 this past week, and my wife took me to Curacao, Sandals, Curacao, and we spent my 53rd birthday there, man. And refreshing. I was able to block the world out for about 4 or 5 days, man, because we didn't look at TV. We toured the city. We was on the beach, and so awesome experience. But as far as myself, I have to truly say I'm doing pretty good. Just like you said, y'all started y'all show 3 years ago. 5 years ago, I was in the military. The last year of my military career, and COVID happened. And basically everything shut down. And I'm an extrovert. I love talking to people. I love being around people. And all of a sudden, all that stopped. And so the stuff that you see me do on my TikTok page, I actually started at 5 years ago, as far as sharing and having and communicating, because I seen there was a space or a gap that needed to be filled, man. Because like you were saying, us as men, we don't share our feelings. We don't share our emotions. That's not manly to share your feelings and share your emotions. And I would say, man, that stigma has to be erased, man. The reason why so many of us suffer in silence is because we don't talk. And my grandfather always told me pressure busts a pipe. And eventually, if you allow the stuff that's going on the inside of you to sit there long enough, it's going to come out in a way that you ain't going to be able to bring it back. That's why a lot of brothers sitting in jail right now, because they had built up emotions. They had built up pent up feelings that they couldn't speak and talk to people about. And then when it did come out, it came in a way that they couldn't dial it back.
And that's very important to recognize when you are starting to feel like you're about to explode. Because I have had a lot of instances where I felt like I was about to explode.
Mhm.
On the outside, you can think I'm calm and demeanor and got it all together, but 3, 4 years ago, I was far from that. I was in really terrible mental state. I was angry with the world. I didn't like to talk to people. I had no friends. I see a lot of stuff that society has told me about myself, and I didn't like that. And I
Yeah.
had to really work on myself so I can be in better spirits to help other people in life, because you want to help other people in life. You don't want to always think about what it's just about you. You want to help other people if you can, but you can't help other people if you're not healed yourself. And so there was a lot of instances in my life where I felt like I wanted to explode. It was a white cop. I was at a hospital just sitting there minding my business. And he was like, Give me your ID, give me your name, why you're here. Because he didn't know I was there, because in the neighborhood that I used to live in, a lot of black people didn't come in that particular hospital. So he was already curious and wanted to know why I
Yeah.
was here. But people go to the hospital because they get a checkup, right? That's
Yeah.
normal. But in that area that I lived at, he was questioning me. He said, "You don't have to give me your ID. Then why? If I don't have to give you my ID, then why are you asking for it?"
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And then that's not the first incident. And then it was a cop. I was downtown Cleveland and I forgot my charger or something like that. And I was just so frustrated because I needed to get home. And at this time I didn't drive or anything like that. And I needed to call an Uber. And I had no access to another charger to connect to my phone so I can charge it and call the Uber or order the Uber. And I was just ready to explode because I was thinking everybody is just walking by and they know I'm asking, and no empathy or sympathy. And then the cop was like, "Why you keep asking? Come to me. Why you keep asking all these other people for help?" And like, because I need help, right? I have no way of getting home. I'm basically stranded at that point. Luckily, I found another charger and I plugged it in and I was able to get home. But it's just like, what do you do when you feel like the world is against you, or you feel like the world doesn't care about you? And as black men, sometimes I can feel that way. If it would have been a white man, he would have got help, right? And it's just things like that. You feel like the world's against you, and then you have all this resentment, and then you become an angry black man, and that's another
Yeah.
stereotype.
Yeah.
So my question is, how can black men learn to heal whatever they're going through or wherever they've been through besides therapy? Because sometimes therapy is not always accessible to people.
Yeah.
You do exercise, meditation. What's some other ways that you've been doing? Because I see you do a lot of workout videos too.
Yeah.
So does that
So,
heal your
so
mind?
So I tell people my primary therapist is the gym. Working out is a place where I can go and release. It's a place that I get a chance to reflect and gather my thoughts. You're right. Everybody can't afford. I was fortunate enough because I was in the military. I had some of the best health care and I had the ability to see a therapist. But what I will tell you that for many years, because of the stigma of going to see a therapist, as you see, a lot of people in the military suffer from PTSD because the stigma that is placed on somebody that go to actually go seek help. One of our senior leaders in the military said, when somebody have a broken leg and they go to the doctor, nobody says nothing. Or when somebody have a toothache, nobody say nothing. But when somebody say something is not quite right inside their head and they need to talk to somebody, then all of a sudden everybody got something to say. And we needed to change that stigma. But the gym is definitely a release. My walks, I go on walks. So I'm a part of a Peloton group too. So me and a lot of guys and girls get together every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and ride together. That's the beautiful thing about Peloton. Not on here to try to sell it or anything like that,
It's
but
good.
it allows me to connect with my friends regardless of where they at. We get a chance to see each other on the leaderboard and we challenge each other to be physically fit. And then me getting on for 3 to 5 minutes on TikTok or on my Facebook Live on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I have what I call morning motivation. Those are my ways of releasing. And I tell people, I have so many people reach out to me and say, "Man, you're doing great things. You helping us out." And I have to tell them, I say, "Yeah, I appreciate it, but it helps me out too." Everything that I talk about on here, I know if I'm thinking it, somebody else is thinking it. Somebody else is going through it. And the reason why many of us suffer because we feel as though nobody else is going through what we're going through. And the minute we hear that, hey, somebody else is having these same type of problems, maybe I'm not an anomaly. Maybe it is people out there like me that either I'm going through it right now or they've been through it and they can help me come out on the other side. Remember, I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama. Almost everywhere I went outside the Cooper Green projects, I wasn't supposed to be there. And I was questioned. And you do build up this anger and this resentment because of my grandfather was in his 60s. Well, I was 40 years younger than my grandfather was. So I think back when my grandfather was in his 50s, he was still being called a boy by people that was much younger than him. And how was he able to manage or navigate through that system? And I would tell you, man, it was many a times me and my friends would be out playing or something like that. We get pulled over or whatever, just to be harassed. I can remember my first time driving home from my duty assignment to Alabama. I got pulled over 3 times, and all this is before we even knew what racial profiling was. It wasn't a big term at that time. And it did create some anger. But then the beautiful thing about being in the military put me around people from all different cultures and all different walks of life. If I wouldn't have joined the military, I probably would have, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. But I got a chance to be around a whole bunch of people that didn't look like me, that taught me that everybody is not bad. And if you just sit down and take a moment to try to truly figure somebody out. See, like you said, that cop was curious. He wasn't curious. He already judged you. I don't know if you ever looked at the show Ted Lasso, but Ted Lasso was a great show on leadership. It's on Apple. But Ted Lasso said something. If we was more curious and less judgmental, the world would be so much better. Because again, most people judge people without even knowing their story. And if he just would have took the time as a law enforcement, a person that's supposed to be protecting and serving, just to try to gain better understanding, that outcome and that situation could have probably been different, not just for him, but for you as well. Because you would have said, you know what, all cops are not bad. But based off of your experience, almost everyone you came in contact with, they showed no empathy. They showed a lack of understanding and try to figure out who you are.
And then, just to be clear, that's just my experience. When you live in a predominantly white neighborhoods and stuff like that, and you're probably 1% of the black,
Oh, you stand out.
you get what you get, right? You have to know what
Unfortunately.
neighborhoods you're going to be living in and what's going on. And then it was a lot of experiences that was really traumatic. That when I was living in these racist neighborhoods and stuff like that, I remember this when I used to live in Medina, and it was like I coming down the street and someone just shout out the window, nigger, and
Wow.
it's just like I thought we was past that, but it's still like racism still exists, and we have to learn as black men that everybody is not going to like the skin color. You know what I mean? They're not going to like the things we do. And even when we are credentialed and we accomplish a lot, we still have to prove ourselves. And so that's even more like us, that's more like declining our mental health, because we have to still constantly be on edge, even when we feel like we accomplish. You can be a millionaire or billionaire, but people will never see you just because of your skin color. They will never see that. And so that takes a mental health toll on you after a while. But what I learned, though, over the years, now that I'm about to be 31 in about 2 months,
Oh, okay.
I,
Go ahead, Dan.
I learned that you can't please everybody, and you can't. I've had white friends, and
Yeah.
some were good and some were bad. But what it taught me is that you have to be authentically yourself. You have to move with good intentions, and
Yeah.
maybe you will attract the right type of people that you're going to. And that's not the reality for everybody, because I know it's a lot of brothers that still live in the hood and they feel like they can't really get out of it, and they feel like the world is against them. But what I would say to those brothers is knowing that you can go and get a degree, you can go and change your life and stuff like that, but it goes all the way back to slavery. We're
Yeah.
never going to be equal to our counterparts. We're never going to be seen on the playing even level field as them. We're never going to be that way. So we have to know that we're good enough ourselves, and that we're not going to be a slave to ourselves. We're not going to feed into that mindset of they want me to be that particular way forever. They want me to stay down. They don't want me to have any, they don't want me to rise to the top like them. And just even when you see it in the climate of what's going on with Trump and all of that and stuff like that,
Yeah.
not to be too political, but we're going to
Yeah.
get there. It doesn't matter, because we build up enough audience to know who we are. So that part don't even matter anymore. But when you look at the climax of what's going on, black people, we have to be on edge, right? We
I
have
would
to
say
be.
this there. I don't mean to interrupt you, man. I say this one, because of my time in the military, I have always remained apolitical, because I have a lot of people watch me, and I just served under several different presidents and several different parties. And few things I learned, and the age gap is a big difference too. Like you said, I'm 53, you getting ready to be 31, so I understand exactly. I didn't have this the mindset I have now. I didn't have it when I was 31, because if I can talk to my 31-year-old self, I would say, honestly, I would say, look, don't be, first things first, don't try to be a people pleaser, because you'll never be able to please everybody. And that's to include people that look like you. I would share this with you, that during my military career, most of the reason why I was able to be successful in my military career was not because of people that looked like me. Actually, those was the ones that was holding me back. It was people that didn't look like me that saw something in me, that said, you know what, you need to keep on moving forward. And when other people tell me, hey, you overachieving this and you that, and I had got caught up in that, man. I tell this to my son. My son will be my youngest. He'll be 28 this year. My daughter, she'll be 30, and then my oldest will be 31 this year. And I tell them all, what people got to think about you, that's their business. That ain't none of your business. I don't know if you ever seen Tara Brown, man. She one of my favorite people I follow on social media.
I love her. She's just
And
authentically herself.
and that's it. You just got to be yourself. People, either they gonna like you or they not gonna like you. You never seen a dog run after a parked car, ever. You'll never see it. The only time you see a dog moving, running after a car is when it's moving forward. That's the same thing with life. So, and you have to mentally prepare yourself to know that as you move forward, it's gonna be people. It's gonna be people that try to hold you back. It's gonna be people that try to say you're doing too much, and you have to say, you know what? You just love them from a distance, but you keep it moving, and you just can't get frustrated. And like you said, once you already know the rules to the game, you say, you know what? I got to work a little bit harder. I knew this. I knew that I had to work a little bit harder to prove myself. Got it? Is it fair? You know what? Life ain't fair. But what do I sit here and I have a pity party, or do I pick myself up and say, you got to work a little bit harder, then you do it? And here's the other thing I always try to tell people, and then I shut up. Hey, look, man, don't try to prove people wrong. Just prove yourself right. Because oftentimes that's another reason why we doing stuff that we don't really want to be doing. We be doing stuff just to try to prove people wrong. And then we end up being frustrated because most of these people that we think paying us attention ain't paying us no attention at all. Most of these people we trying to impress, they ain't paying us no attention. What we need to do is focus on being the best version of ourselves, and remember that the only competition that you got is the person that you was yesterday. And every day you just need to make yourself a little bit better and better each day. And then surround yourself around the right type of people, because that's another thing. Those brothers that's in the, I grew up in the project. I lived in the projects for 13 years. That's where I come from. And I try to tell people, I'm from the projects, but the projects is not who I am. So I knew that at some point, in order for me to not be blaming the world for my problems, I had to be the change that I wanted to see. And so for me, I chose the military. Other people can choose other things. And I know people say, well, I can sit around and make excuses all day of why I can't do certain things. But if I gave just as much energy on the things that I could do, it'd be surprised, because my mom never allowed me and my brother to say I can't in her house. That was profanity. Matter of fact, probably we could have used profanity in her house, but we couldn't use the phrase I can't around her, because she always said you can do anything you put your mind to. And I was fortunate enough to have that mom. My father wasn't in my life. I didn't have that example other than my grandfather to look at, to be on me and say, hey, you know what? It is more than these projects. And not bragging or boasting, man, but I think I live pretty good right now. And it was because of that experience that I had growing up in the projects and stuff that humbled me. I never forget where I came from. I always go back and give. But I think a lot of times it's about changing your environment. And that's what I want to, that's the point I really want to bring home. A lot of times the reason why we struggle and deal with the things we deal with, because we continue to be around the exact same people that's going through the same stuff. And we never see nobody come out of it because we're around a whole bunch of people that's complaining. And I'm telling you, if you just change your environment a little bit, you'll be surprised how you can come out on the other side.
And that's a good point. We as Black men, we want to take everybody to the top with us, or we want to help as many people as we can. But I had this one friend. I've done everything I think I could for him. 3, 4 years, he was one of my closest friends. But
Mhm.
as time went on, you see the real intentions of people. You see what he was really about. And I don't want to believe people is bad, but when people show you who they are, you have to believe them. And I was just testing him in a lot of situations just to see what he was going to do. I was telling him all of my aspirations and my dreams and goals, but the one thing he never told me, which direction he was going in life.
Mhm.
We never had those conversations. What do you want to do out of your life? You listen to me tell me about I'm going to college and I'm going to get a good job. And I did all of those things, but he was still at the same level as after I finished college. So at a point when you're in the hood and you're coming up and you see people is not going in the same direction, or they're not navigating vibrationally where you would want to as being friends, then you start to see some envy and jealousy going on that ultimately you're going to have to just let them go. You're going to have
Yeah.
to leave them down here while you rise to the top. And I don't mean that as thinking I'm better than him or
No,
anything like that, but just if you don't leave him where at the
you're
level
gonna
that
be
he's
there.
at, he's going to destroy everything you build.
Yep.
And that's what intentionally I start to see. He would start to question every one of my moves because in the mind, I felt like he couldn't accomplish a lot of stuff, or he didn't have any direction in his life. So he wanted to bring me down to his level so we're on the same even. But
Yeah.
no, we're not. I had to work everything that I worked for in my life is because I took the initiative to get to where I'm at.
Mm,
People have helped me along the way. I had a great tutor, had a great
yeah.
support system and stuff like that. But the things that I accomplished, the degrees that I accomplished, the businesses that I started, I worked hard with people to make this happen. It just didn't happen overnight. And when you see people don't have any direction, or they're just not going anywhere, ultimately, you have to let them go. And don't let, that hood mentality thinking, oh, you're better than me now because you got something that I don't, or you're changing. Don't you want to change?
I
You
would
want
tell
to
you
change?
this, man. I would tell you some people don't want to change, and the reason again is because you left, you went to school, you got exposed, you seen that it's a different life out there than you seen when you was coming up. I don't know if you ever heard of have you ever heard of the popcorn analogy?
No, what's it? Can you?
Okay, so I'm old school again. I got 20 plus years on you. So we use popcorn ain't always been made in the microwave. It used to be made on the stove. I
Know
don't know
that.
if you ever, yeah. So we used to make popcorn on the stove. Matter of fact, Jiffy popcorn, we used to make it on the stove. But anyway, so you take popcorn, all of the kernels, they the same or whatever. You put them in you put grease in a pan. You get that grease up to a certain temperature. You put those popcorn kernels inside that grease, and they all being cooked under the same temperature. As you notice, each one of those those kernels start to pop at different times. Also, and even if you look at a microwave bag of popcorn, all of the kernels never pop. See, that's the such thing as life. All of us grow up sometimes in the same situation. All of us grow up in the project in the same environment under the same conditions or whatever. Some of us pop and grow, and a lot of my friends that I grew up with, man, they doctors, they lawyers. We all grew up in those same projects, and we all popped at different times in life. But you know what? I'm 53 years old. I got friends that I grew up with, and I've been knowing since the second grade. They still right there in those projects. Sometimes some people won't pop. Some won't, and you have to be okay with it. People come into your reason in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And sometimes those seasons y'all outgrow each other. All right. Growth is intentional. John C. Maxwell, one of my favorite authors, say, "You never see nobody just fall up a hill. They had to intentionally climb up that hill. The things that you did, you had to intentionally start your businesses, go to school and stuff like that. Stuff that just happened to you. But there are some people that will try to make you feel bad for you wanting to be a better version of yourself. Well, you know what? Y'all seasoning came to an end. You have to be okay with it. And because it's going to be some new people coming into your life that's going to see your value, that's going to see your worth. And matter of fact, some of those new people that come into your life, they going to take you to higher levels, to depths that you never even thought of. But you can't receive all that newness if you still got all them wrapped up. As they say, you can't receive newness if your fist is balled up. You got to open your hands to receive those gifts, man. Oftentimes, we get so frustrated, we get so mad, we get so where the fist is balled up, we can't even receive the new blessings that we're looking for because we're so caught up in the past, man. And I don't want to make it seem like I've always had it all together either. But I have, in my years on this earth, realized that, man, some things is not worth losing my mind, my peace about. Some people I just have to let. And here's the other thing: not just some people. Sometimes it's even family. You have to
Hmm.
learn. You got to learn how to set boundaries, man. You don't get the chance to pick your family, but you do get a chance to pick how much time and effort you get to put into that relationship, man. And that's something I had to learn because I would tell you when I was coming up through my military career, like I shared, man, I had people tell me I was an overachiever, I was doing too much. No, you know what? I
You
ain't
was
doing
doing
too much.
exactly what you needed to do.
I was doing what I needed to do, and then as I was doing what I needed to do, the right people started to come around, and I started putting myself in rooms where I wasn't the smartest person in the room, if that makes sense. Because
Mm.
because you got a growth and comfort, they cannot coexist. In order for you to grow, you're gonna have to go into rooms that you just don't feel comfortable in. You have to get to where the uncomfortable begins to be comfortable. And that has always been my mantra. I started my own coaching and speaking and leadership development LLC, and it's called Don't Talk About It, Be About It. That's a
Hmm.
motto. When I was a drill instructor in the military, man, every one of our groups of soldiers that would come in, they would have to have a motto so that when stuff get bad, when the things start going awry, they can always lean on that motto. And one of my squads, they came up with that "Don't talk about it, be about it," and it just stuck with me basically the rest of my military career. And I would tell you, man, that's what it's always been about with me. I stopped talking about stuff a long time ago and started being about it. And if I ain't gonna be about it, I don't even talk about it.
That's right. But we're coming up on time here.
Okay, no problem.
I do appreciate your coming here for being one of our first viewers that watches the show a lot, that came on the show. I'm really proud of the trajectory that we're reaching a lot of men.
Awesome.
And if you ever have any guy friends that want to come on, just message me on TikTok and we can make that happen.
No
Um,
problem.
but just closing out here, I just wanted you to say some words of encouragement to men of all walks of life. What could they do better in their lives to get to what they want to do in their life? That's just a generic statement. I know it doesn't apply to everybody, but just some words of encouragement to help them to keep going in this life, even though it's tough.
Hey man, I would say this, Darren. First of all, let me say thank you for having me on the show, man. I appreciate you for having me here, and I look forward to maybe in the future coming back on. What I would tell anybody out there, keep going. I don't care how hard and how tough it get, keep going. Hey, it's easy to keep going and starting over. When you start over, you got to start over from scratch. But just keep going and know that failure is a part of the process. All right, we didn't put this negative thing, this negative cloud around failing, especially with your generation. It feels like if I don't get something right, then people gonna look down. Let me tell you something, man. Failure is a part of the process. That's how you learn. It's okay to fail. That's the other thing I just want to share with them. It's okay to fail, and it's okay to ask for help. If it's one thing again that I can go back and tell my 31, at 31, I was going through a divorce. At 31, I was starting over. I had been in the military for long enough to be looking at the light on the other end of the tunnel. And now I had to start all over again. And I thought the world was coming to an end. And I tried to go through that whole process all by myself. And I would tell you, I lost a lot of weight. I lost a lot of sleep, man. It was some stressful nights. It wasn't until I came forward and shared with somebody and found out that they had already been through what I've been through. And they helped me come out of that darkness. And here's the other thing. They knew I was going through it, but they needed me to come over. Because here's another thing that I found out, and I'm going to shut up for real, man, because I can talk, man. Look, you ever notice that,
Sorry. So talk.
but honestly, man, you ever notice that if a vehicle is broken down on the side of the road and a person is just sitting there, people keep driving past that vehicle? But you ever notice that if a vehicle broken down on the side of the road and they see somebody out pushing that vehicle, that a tendency people will stop and try to help them push that vehicle? The
Mhm.
thing is, it's not the fact that people don't want to help you. Oftentimes, people don't help. They want to make sure that you want to help yourself before they try to get that helping hand. My grandfather always say, "Closed mouths don't get fed." And so
Mhm.
sometimes you have to let people know that you're going through stuff. Because if you're one of those people that's always telling people, "I'm okay, I'm fine," you know what? People gonna take that as okay, they doing good, and then they move on. But if you tell them, look, man, because everybody that you share what you got going on with you is not against you. It's people that really want to help you, and it's people around you that them through that you been through the things that you're going through right now that can help you come out of that storm a lot faster. So Don't be afraid to share, and just make sure you let people know you got stuff going on, man. That's what I want to lead the group with, man.
All right. Well, we got to get ready to go here, Garrett, but I do appreciate you for coming on here, being vulnerable. I know it takes courage to talk in front of a lot of people, over 500 people or more, but that's the goal of our space, is to have these conversations that's uncomfortable and that need to be had. So we
Thank
will keep in touch and just continue to keep watching our stuff, and we'll keep
you.
supporting you. So we out.
Hey, have a good one,
Peace.
man. Yes, sir.
Welcome to the talk show where men unite, having conversations that inspire, ignite. From relationships to wellness, we cover it all. In this positive space, we're standing tall. We're the men of the talk show, spreading good vibes.